Hey gang, welcome back to the shop. Alright, so I'm actually doing a tune-up on my own vehicle. Imagine that, got time to work on my own car. And it kind of reminded me about something that I wanted to do a while ago, I just never got around to doing it. I'm going to try to do a weekly thing, maybe bi-weekly. I'm going to call it Shit You Should Know and Shit You Should Have. So, most people when they got to do a tune-up on their cars, they start shuddering, okay? The first time you do a tune-up, when you buy a car, it can be challenging because you don't know how long stuff's been in there, what kind of treatment it's had, if some animal went and over torqued things, right? So this is your chance to make everything right. Now normally when I buy a new vehicle, well, new to me anyway, first thing I do is I change all the fluids and I do a tune-up. That way I know what I'm starting off with. So my little Dakota here, I bought with 150,000 miles on it, and I just turned 210. So the plugs are probably 20,000 miles overdue. The recommended interval on this is 40,000 miles. But as I'm going through, like I said, it reminded me of something I wanted to do a while ago. So just specific to the Dakota real quick. You do have to take off the air intake, okay, and the box. And then there'll be a bolt down here and a bolt on the other side that actually holds these clips on that holds the AC lines in. You're going to have to remove those to get the AC lines out of the way. Now after that, it's a standard coil on plug setup, okay? So a couple things you're going to need, depending on your car. There's a 10 millimeter socket and a 5/8 spark plug socket rather. Why do you need a 5/8 spark plug socket? Because on the inside of the socket there is a big rubber dicky, okay? And that rubber dicky grabs the spark plug, so you can pull it up out of the cylinder head. Now, for a lot of people that sounds pretty standard. So here's what's going to separate you from the guy down the street who does work on cars, okay? So first things first, when you're working on a car, do not put tools any place that you're working. Do not put them on the front of the car. Do not put them directly in front of you over here, because they will get knocked off and they'll roll into the car. You will not hear them hit the ground, and they will disappear into a different dimension. Okay? Now, depending on how many miles are on your car, it could take you a while, or it could go very easy. Now, the last time I did this, I made things a little easier on myself. But I'm going to show you how to make things easier on yourself. And this can apply to any vehicle out there. All right, whether or not you have coil on plug, whether or not it's a Dodge, you know, it could be a Subaru, it could be a Honda, it could be a Chevy, you know, it could be a Ford. But, you know, either way, these principles are the same. So, I'm not going to go through a whole tune-up on this. Like I said, this is just going to be what you should know and what you should have. So, in this case, I'm going to remove the nut that holds on the coil. As we said, this is a coil on plug setup. So what that means is that once that nut's out of the way, okay, now there's going to be a push tab to take off the wire from the coil. So you push this part here and pull. Now you may have to push in first and then pull. Now at this point, you think you're just gonna, okay, well, normally that doesn't happen. Normally, when you go to pull these out, they will not come out. So what you should have is a small pry bar like this, okay? Now this is a, you know, it's just a cheapy Harbor Freight, but it does what it says. It's a bar that pries, okay? I wouldn't suggest using a screwdriver because it's straight. You want that little bit of leverage. You want this little fulcrum that's here. And you can put it on the fuel rail and it'll pop right up. Now there's a reason why mine came out and yours may not. So, next thing you're going to want to do is now put that in the front of the car. Grab your spark plug socket with a little extension on it here. Drop that right down the hole. And then you're going to extract your spark plug. And that's what I mean is that it's a little rubber dicky that keeps this plug from falling out, but allows you to remove the socket when you get done. So, plug's worn, but it looks in good shape otherwise. The other plugs I took out, I know when I put them in, I got them at 40,000s. They're about 50 right now just because of wear. So, now we're going to get to more of the shit you should have. Okay, so what you should have. You should have a spark plug gapper. This is a very, very old one. Again, we're looking for 40,000s. And you're just looking for a slight drag in between the electrode and ground, okay? That's all. Don't force it in. Don't adjust it so that this thing is slapping up and down, okay? Just a nice drag, that's it. Now the other thing you should have is a little product called anti-seize. Now, if you've ever seen the memes of where they say 10 minutes into a job and you look like the tin can from the Wizard of Oz, then yes, that's absolutely true. So, with our little guy here, that's all I'm going to put on. That's it. Because as it threads itself in, it's going to coat itself the rest of the way up. Make sense? Now, this is not the time to break out your impact tools, your electric impact tools, air-powered impact tools. All right, this is a job that needs to be done by hand. Insert your own jokes. So, I start them and run them down until they're pretty much finger tight. I have a much longer ratchet than this. I don't use that. I don't want that much torque on these. All right, watch. I'm going to use one finger. When I can't go anymore, that's it. I'm done. Now, remember that little nut we took off before? Well, here's how you make sure they always come off and don't break. Take a little never seize. Put it right at the start of the threads. You're done with that part. Now, your actual coil. So what I do when I take these out, I clean them off with brake clean. You can use whatever you want, but I prefer brake clean before it goes back in. Dielectric grease. Why dielectric grease? Well, the rubber O-ring that's on here may not react well with other types of grease, and it'll swell, and then you'll have a real problem getting this out. I also put it down here where it seals, and then right inside here where it's going to go onto the spark plug. Okay. Now I know all these parts are sealed, so if I go through any water or any dirt gets in here, it's not going to end up down there. At that point, coil will go back in. Give that a little push to make sure it's seated. Take the nut, put it on our freshly never seized stud. 1/4 inch drive. And again, this is another one, you don't have to get all bananas on it, okay? Just run it down till it's snug. That's it. These are little tiny studs, little tiny nuts, and you know, I promise you, they will rust, and when you go to take them off, they're going to break. So, it just needs to be enough to hold it. And lastly, what I do, just because of my years of off-roading, these weather pack connectors, more dielectric grease, a dab will do you. Hook that up. That's done. Now, if you're doing this, well, you got all 8 to go. I've already done the other 4, so I've got 3 to go on this side. So I'm going to finish my work for the day. And then hopefully by 3 o'clock I'll be back in my pajamas. It's a nice thing about Sundays. And that's that. So again, shit you should know and shit you should have. I'm going to try to do this once a week, like I said, and we're going to cover mechanics, we're going to cover fabrication, we're going to cover welding. There's, I don't know, probably a million things that can go over. If you guys have any suggestions about anything, leave them down in the comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. All those things work to help out, work to help out the channel, and it gives me motivation to actually do this stuff. No, that's it. Until we see you next time, peace.